Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Carl Pauls. I'm here with Gabriel Ignetti and Chris Bergen. Our special guest today is Eric Meyer, Executive Director of Generation Atomic. So, Eric, why don't you tell us what has Generation Atomic been up to lately?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Yeah. Uh, since we've last spoken on this channel, it's been a few years. We've continued to grow our social media presence. We're just adding it up the other day. We're up to 63,000 followers across 7 platforms, which is good. We have some really talented creators making short video content. Kind of realized, hey, there's some great podcasts out there. There's some good longer form discussions happening, and it's also some fairly good nuclear memes coming out now. But we sort of identified what we thought could be a gap, which would be some of these short form videos for the people of today with their shorter attention spans, maybe myself included. uh, so that's been a lot of fun. We've done there's a series on called No Perfect Energy Source that is kind of in I don't know in its final stages that we've just released. We've done ones recently on the climate talks, the triple nuclear pledge, who is in it, who that you maybe wouldn't expect, like countries that don't have nuclear yet, who wasn't in it that you would hope would be in there. Like, where's Mexico, where's Brazil, a few maybe where's El Salvador, and then who's not, that you can probably understand why, like Russia, China, due to the political tensions. But just some examples of the mini videos I encourage people to check out. Did a bunch on the moratoriums in the U.S. Also, recently we had the release of Juice, the series, the docu-series, Tyson Culver, Robert Bryce, which I had the honor of being a part of for the last 3 episodes or so, and got Tyson and Robert's blessing to cut that up into some short videos, and those have been getting some love. I think there was one that was about the mining intensity of wind energy that has gotten something like 60,000 views. Seems like the hotter the take, the more comments, and that drives
Nice.
engagement, which
So,
is perhaps worrying, because in the internet where it's promoting division, but
yeah.
nonetheless, it's getting the nuclear message out there, so it's
Wonderful.
good.
Let me catch up for our viewers. I put Juice the series. That link to youtube.com. Juice the series is in our chat now. And what platforms are you doing? I know there's some wonderful TikTok content going on. Are you doing reels and shorts and all the short form video, or is there one that you're seeing a lot more uptake on?
Yeah. Well, of course, YouTube Shorts is limited to 60 seconds, so not everything we make ends up on YouTube, which I find personally is the media that I consume the most is YouTube. But I know a lot of people are on Instagram a ton and TikTok, and they can find the full length of our vertical videos there. Yeah, also Facebook Reels doesn't have the 60-second limitation. Yeah, so those are kind of main ones. LinkedIn we found has been pretty good as well. It reaches audience of professionals in a way that maybe the others don't always, and that can be very valuable in terms of bringing new donors to the organization, and maybe getting in front of more journalists, policymakers, things like that. So that's been a good one too, and I think it's like a sleeper social media to hit. But yeah, we're so lucky to have Kirsten Sundell, who makes a ton of our videos. Also Mary Closer and Madison Schroeder, making a ton of our content. Kirsten got her first invitation to speak on a panel at the end of this month at the American Society of Mechanical Engineer Conference on Advanced Reactor Design. And it's just maybe a panel is an overstatement. It's just her and Miss America, Grace Stanke, for like a 90 minutes or something like that. So I'm very, very proud of her. She's come along. She's been with us for 2 years. She started when she was 19, and is working on 3 majors simultaneously at University of Rhode Island. And yeah, she's amazing. So yeah, make sure you check out all those videos. Yeah,
Amazing.
as far as other stuff that's been going on, we did submit some hydrogen comments on the hydrogen guidance to the Treasury Department this maybe a week and a half ago, I guess. That was a very fun process. We had one of our volunteers works at a big law firm called Weil, like WEIL. And he was like, what do you guys think? Let's collaborate. Let's put in some really high quality comments. And so working with him, his name's Hamza, as well as like some veteran nuclear advocates like Jim Hoff, Philip Holt on our team, and maybe a somewhat of a newcomer, but always been in the community a little bit. He's been on a submarine for a better part of the last 7 years, but now that he's above ground, Ben Casper, who's the new committee director of our government team, helped lead that effort to put together some great comments on this hydrogen guidance to make sure that program's not being just exploited and used to kind of fraudulently line the pockets of clean energy developers that are building stuff that really isn't that needed right now in order to cash in on those credits. Because the way some of the stuff is proposed, man, it can be energy that is completely unnecessary and arguably makes the grid quite a bit less stable and more fragile. But nonetheless, collecting massive subsidies in order to do that. So we put together a cogent case on why certain things that are proposed shouldn't be used that way.
And this is the DOE Clean Energy Production Standard Guidance Program. And so this is the public comments that Gen A and all of our allies are submitting to that. I'll put the link to that program in the chat as well, so everyone out there can check it out. It's and this is the way policy gets made. You don't realize, as an energy advocate sometimes, that the traditional environmental groups have had public comment and sort of government engagement on lock for many years, and this is an incredibly important part of the work that Generation Atomic does. Thank you, Eric, so much for taking charge on this. It's the best that I think we have.
Yeah, I was really happy with how it turned out. And I think a couple of us were a little out of our comfort zone because it's like such wonky legalese to even try to understand, like, what are they looking for here? Because it's somewhat easy to just state the broad strokes of, well, we don't want our grid to get dirtier or less reliable. And from the very early days, our argument was, why are we messing around with hydrogen when so much of our grid is still powered by fossil fuels? And wouldn't it be better to first focus on that instead of kind of the cart before the horse situation of like, oh, well, let's try to make hydrogen, but maybe only at times when certain areas have too much clean energy, and it starts to get so complicated and tough for investors to decide if the purchasing the electrolyzers would be worth it. If you can only use them, say, when there's an abundance of extra wind and solar energy happening, then you're not going to recoup your investment if it's not running all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see
I s-
Chris.
yeah, I see a question. Go ahead.
Uh, Not a question, maybe a little comment on top of what Eric just said. Something I've come to realize over the past decade of following this and being involved in a small way, uh, the infrastructure changes to our electricity grid moves at a glacier pace. So if we wait to do that and then we do something else and then do something else after that's all taken care of, nothing's going to be done for a millennium. So, yeah, kudos for jumping out of your comfort zone, Eric, and moving forward with this stuff.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and I should take maybe the smallest amount of credit for the other guys on the team who really did a deep dive on this stuff, and I think laid out a very compelling case why things like that. One of the things that was proposed was just a blanket 5% tax credit to all existing clean energy facilities, because over the course of the year there is an average surplus of 5% energy that's produced that isn't needed. So, we'll just say, yeah, it doesn't matter what time that energy was produced, as long as it was extra at some point during the year. We'll say that that was used to make hydrogen, and give them all a bunch of money. And you're just like, okay, I get why that's proposed, because it'd be super easy to administer. You don't have to do, any type of like temporal matching or geographic matching. It can be, extra wind energy in the middle of the night when it's not needed, and maybe even sends electricity prices negative on one side of the country, being used to pay tax subsidies to electrolyzer on the other side of the country. So that one was like most obviously busted, of the proposed things. I think in principle we're very much like, hell yeah. Once we get building some more nuclear, high temperature steam electrolysis, like, let's make some hydrogen. We need to make carbon neutral synthetic fuels. We're going to need all that stuff, and we're using so much natural gas now, both as a feedstock and with steam reformation to produce the ammonia we need for fertilizer, for example. And we need to fix all that, but our grid is it's still so dirty. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to pour all of this money into it, unless it's going to be like very tightly controlled and actually helpful.
Actually has to offset the dirty energy, not just the clean energy. And in Washington, we have that problem where, it's renewable wind and solar pushing out clean hydrogen, or sorry, hydroelectric, and it just doesn't work. Well, this is such a difficult question, like how does nuclear work in the grid? Do you have anything coming out that kind of is a good reboot of our education on why nuclear is great and what's coming up next?
Yeah. I feel like there's always something in the pipeline.
Is there a book coming out?
Oh, I see. Yeah, I see what you're getting at here. Yes, thank you. April 2nd, so 2.5 weeks, is the highly anticipated launch of Mike Conley and Tim Maloney's book, Earth is a Nuclear Planet. I think you guys had Mike on a few weeks ago to talk about it. And yeah, it's been a really fun project to work on. And we've made a ton of short videos based on it, kind of taking some of the more thought-provoking, insightful, persuasive aspects of the book and turn them into a short video. Has been awesome. And the audiobook is going to launch at the same time. And you can actually check out, we're going to release the first 5 chapters, I think 2 or maybe 3 tomorrow. Will be released on our Substack, which is jenakernel.substack.com. The kernel is like the name of our blog. And you can check it out and listen to the author read. Oh, heck yeah. So chapter 3 is out as of Friday. So you can check that out and see if you want to purchase the full book when it comes out on April 2nd.
All right, I'll get that link in chat right now. There you go.
Yeah.
And the audio is being read by Mike himself, the author.
That's right.
He has a pretty good speaking voice himself, so that works out.
Yeah. Yeah, he does. And he can really hit the emphasis that he was going for when he wrote it. And he did a fantastic job. I linked him up with the same audio producer that I worked with to record Meredith's book, Shorting the Grid, Meredith Angwin. And it sounds great. Mike got a nice microphone for it and learned quite a bit about like home audio production in the process. Yeah, so definitely check that out. And then there's other books coming right behind it. The LNT report, which kind of it started out as a single chapter of Earth is a Nuclear Planet, but it was like one chapter that was a third of the book. So they're like, wait a second, we should make this into its own book. So that'll be coming out in a few months. I don't think we have a date yet for that one, but the edits are mostly complete. And then we just inked up a deal with the same publisher that picked up Earth is a Nuclear Planet. They're called Karis Books, and they're going to do Mike's next two books as well. Roadmap to Nowhere, an update of the other one that came out about 10 years ago, and then one called Power to the Planet. Power to the People. Yeah, Power to the Planet, which is going to be more of like a whirlwind tour of all the different reactor types and fuels and designers and what that could mean, and sort of break down the math of a speedy, clean energy transition with nuclear. So that should be fun.
Wonderful. We've got about 10 minutes left on your clock, Eric. So I notice your voice is a little scratchy. Have you been doing a lot of speaking lately? Anything going on?
Yeah. So we just got back from the South by Southwest Festival in Austin, and there we organized and co-curated a art festival, nuclear art exhibit with Mothers for Nuclear, Stand Up for Nuclear. We got some artworks from Eco Nuclear Solutions, Anthropocene Institute was sponsored the event, and it was awesome. There was a late night involved on Friday. We had a nice VIP session there, and I met software developers and nuclear regulation application experts. Really cool guy. That just people you might not always run into, both inside and outside the nuclear bubble, showed up there. And of course, it was great to see a bunch of advocates we've collaborated with a lot in the past, like Heather Hoff from Others for Nuclear, who I forgot to mention a second ago is also another co-sponsor, co-organizer, Ryan Pickering, and the Nuclear Hazelnut, Jennifer. How do you say her last name? Avalaneda, maybe, on Twitter. So lots of cool influencers. Thea Tormanen from We Planet was there. I hope I'm not forgetting too many people, but it was a lot of fun. Chris.
Yeah, I saw a video of the four gals speaking, Heather and Taya, and I can't think of the other one, Stand Up for Nuclear gal.
Catalina. Oh yeah, Brian E. Worthington was there too.
Brian, that was my question. They never identified who the moderator of that little outdoor forum was. I said, "Is that Baroness Bryony?" It's
sure is.
Wow, cool to see her back in the nuclear sphere.
Yeah, yep. She's her husband took a job at Apple, and she's been living in California for the last year or so, seeing all the many beautiful sites, and she had some interesting ideas about to kind of right. She's very, very sharp, and interesting ideas about
further raising the profile and the idea of new nuclear in California. I guess there are 8 or 16, I forget the number, but there were many nuclear reactors proposed, and some of which were nearly completed or ran briefly. There's a lot of nuclear in California that doesn't exist right now, and she had an idea to kind of do a little bit of maybe like a little bus tour to explore the counterfactual present, that if those nuclear plants had been completed and continued to run, how close California would be to 100% clean power. Arguably, it'd be pretty damn close, considering Diablo Canyon alone makes about 1/7 of the state's clean electricity.
Quick question about that. Chris or Eric, do you know where we could find that content? Is it online or in person only?
I follow it on YouTube.
Was that the South by Southwest channel?
I forget if I got it there or Generation Atomic channel.
Okay.
I'm on my phone, so I can't just flip in and out and dig it up for you. I did throw it on, I think, our ESNA Facebook site.
Okay, I will find that and get that link for everyone. Thank you so much. Yeah, Gabe, you have any thoughts on just this outreach and amazing stuff that's been going on? Oh, are you muted? Is your mic off? Can anyone else hear Eric?
Yeah. I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
I unmute myself for in case there's any noise. And, so okay, sorry about that. So anyhow, yeah. Only thing I was wondering is like, what could we do to help out? What could people do to help out?
Yeah. Of course, get involved, whether that is with Gen A through our volunteer committees. We've got the government team that meets every Wednesday. There is a Minnesota team specifically as well, if people are from Minnesota. We also have we call it the ECO team. It's the Education, Communications, and Outreach team. Meets every other Saturday at 11:30 Central Time. And then there's a technical research team that meets an hour before that. So joining one of those committees, joining our Atomic Ambassador group, which meets on Tuesdays typically. So you can find that on our website, get involved, and sign up there. But even if it's not with us, there are lots of things. I mean, it can be as simple as reaching out to your state rep, state senator, and requesting a meeting to discuss nuclear energy in your state. You might have to send a couple emails and make a couple phone calls, but typically you can get on their calendar and at the very least with them.
I have met with one of my representatives for an hour, so it does work, people.
Hell yeah, exactly. And that's great. Every state can benefit from this, even if you have nuclear, because not a lot of states, not a lot of utilities are actively pursuing new nuclear. There are a few, thankfully, and that number is increasing. But our elected representatives need to hear from their constituents that this should be a priority. And so, yeah, we still got 11 moratoriums. We got, and then another issue is we got some moratoriums that have been quote unquote lifted, but are still limit new builds to 300 megawatts and less, like Illinois and California just had a bill passed out of committee to explore the idea of lifting the moratorium, a feasibility study on 300 megawatts and less. Well, maybe that study will come back and say, wait a second, this cuts out the Bill Gates Natrium reactor, cuts out Rolls-Royce. I've heard recently that the AP300 from Westinghouse is actually designed to be run at 320 megawatts and and can be uprated to 360. So it would be cutting out a lot of promising designs for a very arbitrary limit of 300 megawatts. Doesn't make any sense. So we need nuclear advocates, to come in
and provide that nuance and a more balanced case that folks might not always be getting from the media or or anywhere else. So yeah, that's a good way. Reach out if you have a relationship at your local school. Reach out to and even if you don't, you can try to form one. Reach out to your local teachers and see if they're interested in having a guest presentation about nuclear energy. Your church, places of worship, your local library. A lot of these places are looking for speakers on a regular basis, and you can get on the calendar. Lions Club, Rotary Club, Sierra Club, all these types of things have opportunities.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much, Eric, for joining us. It is, this is about the scheduled end of your time. I'm going to drop one more link in our chat. That is generationatomic.org. You can donate. Taxes are due in a month. You need something. I guess it might technically be a little late to donate for last year, but you could make it easy on yourself next year. Generationatomic.org. You can donate there. And this has been the Eco-Modernist Channel Live. You can find us at esna.earth. That's our website. You can find us on Eco-Modernist 1 on YouTube or the Eco-Modernist channel. On my personal Twitch, Soyadle, that's soyal.tv or twitch.tv/Soyadle. Or, many, many other places. Like I'm showing this on my Twitter, my LinkedIn, all sorts of places. So thank you so much for checking in with us, Eric Meyer, Executive Director of Generation Atomic. And for the rest of this program, I actually have the beautiful nuclear art exhibit at South by Southwest. I think this is this has that content that you were talking about, Chris Bergen. So I'm going to go ahead and get that started. Thank you so much, Eric, and I'll take our microphones off program.
Appreciate it.
Welcome to the beautiful nuclear art exhibit here in Austin, Texas, alongside a side event for South by Southwest. Heather and I are going to give you a little tour of some of the artworks today and muse a little bit on what art means for social movements and what we like about this art. Sound good?
Yeah, and Eric, I was wondering a little bit, tell me about why do you think nuclear needs art?
If you want to shift people's perspectives, you need to do something that is unexpected, and we have a lot of unexpected art pieces here, and simple and concrete and easily visualized, and I think we have a lot of good examples of that here. Otherwise, folks, you're stuck with your preconceived notions. And
I'm really excited about it because if you do a Google image search on nuclear energy, we find radiation symbols and mushroom clouds and cooling towers from plants, and that's about it. And so we're here to change the conversation about nuclear art. Look at all these amazing options. We're going to show you some of them.
Yeah. Awesome. So I guess we'll start. So we have, this one's a finalist from a competition we organized for the IAEA a couple years ago, a really beautiful poem from Rocio McKenzie. I won't read it, but you can pause the video and read it. Yeah, and this one was a finalist in a different competition recently, and put on by Eco Nuclear Solutions. Really beautiful collage here from Ava Byrne. What comes to mind when you're looking at this?
Yeah, well, it took me a while to get this, but it's really cool. It's kind of like here's the nuclear power plant with the fission happening, but there's also like doves and roses in there, and so steam comes out of the plant, and like this is where we make the energy, to power airplanes. Not really, but make electricity. But yeah, there's roses and birds, and it's just it's beautiful. And
so this is the turbine spinning from the steam generated here. This kind of looks like steam. I never noticed that before. To power, and this so does these feathers here. And
eventually the electricity comes out and powers a city, homes, and homes are surrounded by nature, and the power plant is in the community. I love that.
You know, the hot water comes back, symbolized, I guess, by this orange color here, and goes through the cooling tower and cools. So this is like a artistic interpretation, but also a pretty good approximation of what actually happens. And this looks like she's almost got district heating going here too, right? Keeping the homes warm by sending hot water to them. Something I wish we did more in the U.S. Very popular to do in Europe, to have a centralized power plant and send the hot water places. In America, we put power plants in everybody's house instead. And then we send the fuel, like natural gas or whatever. I really, really like this piece a lot. And it's not the only one here by Eva Byrne. So we'll look at a few more probably. All right, onward. Okay. Next one we'll take a look at is this. So we have a couple other finalists from some contests here. This is the winner of that art competition we did a couple years ago, Caspian Coil. Just a beautiful watercolor, kind of, I interpret this as sort of like Mother Earth holding the power of nuclear energy, and sort of almost like giving it to humanity in a Promethean sort of way. Not sure if that's what Caspian was going for or not, but they describe wanting to kind of fight back against the stigma, the negative stigma surrounding nuclear with this piece, and I think it does a really good job here. This one over here is created by Gen A's newest fellow, Gayatri Karnik, and she used a traditional indigenous folk art called Warli to do this, from Western India, so kind of tying into her heritage in order to show this scene here. Heather, what's your reaction to this piece here?
I just love how different it is from everything I've ever seen before. It's amazing, and it brings the idea of like nuclear energy to impoverished communities. Like Africa is what we're talking about when we say energy poverty. They need so much energy. India needs so much energy. We want to use the power of nuclear to raise people's quality of life. So I love seeing those together.
I love how she depicts people in these swirls here, all kind of holding hands together. I love the art style. It's so cool. So we'll keep moving on. Got a trio of very different pieces here. This one kind of a very futuristic look at it, maybe a city powered by nuclear energy. Not to be taken too literally, you would not place a city on top of a cooling tower. And this would be one hell of a cooling tower if you were able to fit this much in it. They're not quite that big. But nonetheless, you kind of get a sense of the futurism. There's a brief poem here, A Star Within. It says, fields in an ampler ether, a light more glorious, dressed, lit evermore with their own bright stars and a sun of their own. From Virgil, I guess. So bringing in some historical poems there. And that was third place winner in our competition. Heather, what do you think about this one?
I like this because in the nuclear industry, operators specifically say zoomies are inside containment. So we call them zoomies, and that's the neutrons that are released as part of making a chain reaction to make nuclear energy. So zoomies, to some extent, are all around us. And this poster kind of makes fun of that. He's coming in, with his protective suit on and his Geiger counter and measuring the radioactive banana. So it's quite comical to me. Do you want to say about the book?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so this piece was originally commissioned as a potential cover for a book Generation Atomic helped produce called Earth is a Nuclear Planet, which is on sale starting April 2nd of 2024, whenever you're watching this. But we decided it was a little too unconventional for a book, but we still love this piece of work. It's really commentary on all of the over-the-top depictions of radiation that started to happen in the mid to late 50s. And we have this kind of satirical take like, oh, even a banana which is naturally radioactive because the potassium-40, deserves to be treated with so much fear. You need a hazmat suit and a Geiger counter in the kitchen here. While these kids look on
horrified
and confused. And I think that's a commentary too, is people don't know what the risk levels of various things are, so they're looking to the quote unquote experts to say how afraid of this do I need to be. And I think a common belief in the nuclear community and a principle is as low as reasonably achievable. And if your goal is as low as possible almost, then that goes to show that even it seems that you would interpret that as even a little bit of radiation would be very dangerous. Yet the facts are to the contrary, and our bodies are quite good at handling radiation. But when we see the over-the-top reaction to it, we think, wow, that must be pretty bad.
It's pretty scary.
Yeah. Wow. This is another very beautiful one. A winner of our contest, and I feel like Eva could have done this one almost.
Same style, yeah. This is the first place winner in the Eco-Nuclear Solutions contest that was also curated and shown at the Fitchburg Gallery in Boston.
Yeah, Boston
so that's
area.
pretty exciting to have another nuclear art exhibit kind of happening at the same time as this one. We are just spreading the pro-nuclear message far and wide.
That's right.
So they shared some of their art with us, which is very generous. And
my take on this one is, nuclear energy, of course, has the smallest land footprint per unit of energy produced, which means there's more room for nature, more room for habitat, because we don't need to spread out all of our energy generation and energy collection technologies out into the world in order to power a civilization, and that leaves more room for all these cool critters and all this great fauna.
That's such a great transition into our Diablo Canyon specific prints over here. I came into nuclear energy as a skeptic, and pretty reluctantly. I didn't want to work at Diablo Canyon, and this is not what I expected to see when I started working there. I found that this one power plant on a tiny footprint of land in harmony with nature makes 10% of California's electricity, and I was just awestruck after about 6 years of questioning. So it took me a while.
Where in here do you work? Point it out.
Yeah, well, for a while I was reactor operator, so I worked in the control room, which is like right in the middle of those two domes in the back. Now I work in the administration building there. But often on my drive to work, I see coyotes and birds of prey, and I didn't happen to see that one whale breaching, but I have seen whales off the coast.
That's incredible.
Around Diablo before. And it's just a haven for wildlife and a really special place.
Yeah, I like to think that whales appreciate nuclear energy because one, it's not an energy generation technology that is in their habitat. I'm concerned about offshore wind for that reason. It's just, I personally feel like we shouldn't be doing construction projects out in the ocean. Like let the ocean be the ocean, and we have enough room on land. There's enough things that are stressing out marine life already, whether it's acidification or overfishing or plastic. We don't need to be adding on to that stress with energy. And I know that's maybe a controversial perspective among environmentalists, but whatever. You're here for the hot takes, and I'm going to give them to you.
Clean energy is great, but the best clean energy is what we should be doing. The lowest impact is nuclear, and we see that, and we'll need some other things to complement it, but we'll build out the best balance, and we're here to help talk more about how nuclear needs to be a part of that.
Yeah. Man, and I had the pleasure of being out on this water just last week, and there's marine life everywhere. We saw tons of sea otters, pelicans, sea lions. It's incredible. Yeah, if you're watching this, try to tour Diablo. It's a great place. Some more Diablo here.
So SB 846 is the legislation that essentially saved Diablo Canyon, and we've been working to help extend the operation of the plant for the last 6 or 7 years since they announced that they weren't going to relicense. So a lot of us advocates, including Eva Byrne, have been working diligently to meet with people and help share the value message of nuclear energy. And I love her embroidery project there, and it shows a little heart right in the geographical location of California where Diablo Canyon is.
Yeah, some more fantastic work from Eva Byrne. And Eva, she's done some volunteering with Generation Atomic, and one of the things she did is went with another one of our volunteers and presented at a school. And I love the slides they put together, because one of them is it starts with just a picture of a cooling tower, and it says, "What is this?" And of course, the kids are going to be like, "A nuclear plant." And then the next slide, it backs out. It's actually a coal plant. It's like, nope, coal plant with a cooling tower. Haha. Yes, expectations subverted.
Yes.
But she has a great sense of humor, and you can see that playfulness coming through, and in these incredible pieces. Very, very cool. And did Eva do this one too? She did.
Yes, yeah, those are two signs
stenciled.
Actually, and in California also, not only are we working to extend the life of Diablo Canyon, but we also want to legalize nuclear energy. We want California to lift their moratorium so that we can build new nuclear for the state. And we just need so much clean energy that's really important that we do that soon.
And if we don't build any more nuclear in California, Ryan will not be able to expand his belt buckle collection. So I guess that's one of the ways historically to celebrate a new plant, right, is to commission a belt buckle, and he's got these amazing ones for Diablo Canyon that I'm not jealous of at all. What do we have here, Heather?
This is uranium glass. And my dad was a glass blower and also a little bit of a mad scientist. He had a gem and mineral museum called Irons in the Fire. And when I was little, we would go on field trips with my class to my house. And my dad would do, helium experiments and glass blowing and release weather balloons. And we would pet tarantulas and do Tesla coils and Jacob's ladders, and he had fossils and so many great things. But my favorite thing was a uranium exhibit that showed a whole bunch of fluorescent and other minerals too, actually, that fluoresce. And I love how this, it kind of exemplifies the hidden power of the atom to, in this case, it takes on the UV light energy. The electrons get excited, and when they go back to their normal state, they give off that energy in the form of that greenish glow. And I just think it's so special to think about that kind of power also being used to make energy. And so this is very fond and reminds me of my dad.
And we should show this probably looks like fake, or like we got some kind of green light on here. There's actually purple ultraviolet light.
Yeah, there's my light up there.
And without the light, here's what it looks like without that light. It's just kind of this light green color. But it's
called Vaseline glass.
Vaseline. I've heard depression glass. I've heard it.
Yeah.
Just propped up or
lie down.
Okay.
Yeah.
So very, very cool.
Yeah, and so my dad also taught glass blowing classes at a local community college, and one of his students made us some little atomic marbles and necklaces, which I'm actually wearing one right now also around my neck. And I like to use that as a talking point. Like, yes, this is radioactive. It could be a little bit scary, potentially, but I know enough about what kind of radiation and how it impacts me to feel totally comfortable wearing this around my neck. So let me know if you have questions.
Yeah, definitely. And I have a radioactive plate as well that it doesn't glow because it's because it's not see-through. It has uranium oxide inside of the glaze for it. It's a piece of vintage Fiesta ware. And my Geiger counter just goes crazy when you put it on top. It just clicks a lot. It starts flashing, high radiation, you know, to take shelter, run for the hills. But it's just plate.
Zoomies.
Yeah, zoomies were doomed.
Yes.
Exactly. And it's actually more radioactive, that plate, than a storage cask of spent nuclear fuel. And I personally tested that recently when I got to give one a hug and a little kiss in Louisiana. So coming along here, we are seeing the works of Angel Rafael or Ralph Vasquez Concepcion, who is an abstract artist focusing on nuclear and nuclear issues from San Francisco, or at least based in San Francisco, I think. And yeah, I wish he was here to more fully explain these pieces, because it's abstract art, so I guess it's within the eye of the beholder. We can only interpret and guess if that's what he was going for or not. It's really cool to see the Atoms for Peace logo represented in here. We can maybe interpret this as neutrons flying around in an atomic reaction. See some radioactive symbols here, some beads. And this says around it, to find the way by which inventiveness of man shall be consecrated to his life, to find and then it just repeats that. So I think those are words from Eisenhower's Atoms for Peace speech, if I remember right.
Yes.
What do you think this black box means? Is that?
I don't know.
Maybe I'm going to interpret it as what most people think of when they try to imagine how a nuclear reactor works. Like, it's just this black box. We don't know. This, spicy rocks come in, power come out. But it isn't quite as complicated as people think in reality.
This is my favorite of Ralph's art, and I love the gold atom surrounding our nuclear planet, and just like the textures on this, and it makes me feel that nuclear is, our hope for our planet, and I see that in this picture.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree. It's nice. I like. And these stars are. This is definitely of the mid-century modern design motif, I think. You'd see a lot of this in, maybe marketing materials and different design. I know there's I feel like I've seen clocks that use this type of thing, so it sort of harkens back to that atomic age.
The atomic age, speaking of that.
Yeah, atomic age. So here we clearly have a nucleus of a uranium atom with that amount of orb-like objects.
Do you think there's 235?
Maybe.
I'm going to count them later.
Yeah, wow. I would guess if there isn't visible, there probably isn't visibly that you can count. I would say maybe there's over 100, just kind of guessing. But, if it's a three-dimensional object, I think that's well within reason that there could be, around that number added together, which is very, very cool.
What do you think of that color, Eric? The pink?
Yeah, it's a little
bright.
little bit Barbenheimer, isn't it? I wonder. I will have to ask Ralph if that was part of the inspiration here.
The pink and the yellow go well together.
Yeah.
I love the brightness.
Yeah. Very, very cool. And and these are Ralph's final pieces. I think we can interpret this triangle here as a nucleus with a neutron coming towards it. Would be my look at that. Very, very cool stuff. But abstract art, I'm always like, am I interpreting this right? I don't know. But man, some incredible work. And if you are an artist, make some nuclear art. And if you're not, hope you enjoyed that. And thanks for coming along with us.
Come out and see us.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, stay rad. Atoms for Peace out.
want to speak to you about a new organization called the Eco-Modernist Society of North America. I'm here because we are in the midst of a potentially monumental ecological crisis. It is only through a new environmentalism 2.0 that progress can be made. We believe that our only hope for human advancement and even human survival is through the exponential advance of science in the service of humanity. Eco-modernism is a new environmental paradigm which looks to reverse the fear of nuclear power and scientific progress in general. Ecology-based modernism is the most direct way to define it. Eco-modernism as a philosophy is described in the Eco-Modernist Manifesto. We believe humanity should not be rejecting technological progress, but rather separate our impacts from nature through the responsible use of technology and urbanization. Urbanization is an unstoppable trend and the best solution to many environmental problems. It offers sustainable development for the human population and is a historic antidote to both deforestation and species extinction, as humans move wildlife as their protein source. Vertical, urban, high-rise architecture minimizes the use of land, resources, and energy, enabling walkable cities that facilitates the more efficient use of mass public transit as well. It must be emphasized that our support for technological solutions is definitely not about defending industrial polluters, nor does our defense of technology imply that we just need to sit back and let things take care of themselves. To the contrary, we believe that humanity is at a crossroads that severely threatens our future on this planet. I hope by now you understand the worthiness of our cause. Eco-modernism is really only a philosophy at this time. I want to talk to you about the necessity of turning it into a movement, which will be part of the larger environmentalist movement. For presence and participation that there can be any hope of moving environmentalism in the right direction. Our aim is not to divide the environmental movement, but rather to multiply its numbers with the incorporation of many scientific and educational communities that is working to both build chapters of eco-modernist societies and support our growth worldwide.
All right, anyone who's still there, I have a special treat for you. Here's a special post-show treat. Let's go. This is a conversation with We Planet. And Gabe, if you're going to hang on, I'll go ahead and change my audio device so that you can hear it. But you are going to echo if you speak. So stream. There we go. Quick audio check. Okay. Okay, everyone. This is the program that Chris Bergen was talking about. It's a conversation with Stand Up for Nuclear, We Planet, and Mothers for Nuclear at the beautiful nuclear exhibit in Austin, Texas, March 2024. Because this isn't, I haven't gotten pre-auth to air this like I did with the other beautiful nuclear exhibit info from Generation Atomic. Thanks for that. I'm going to play this out for you and react to it.
So, ladies, welcome. Very pleased to be here today at South by Southwest with you at the beautiful nuclear event. I wanted to take the advantage of you all being here to have a conversation about why it's so important to have public engagement around nuclear and why we need a grassroots movement to help us convince people, win hearts and minds on nuclear. So I wondered if we could just start by introducing ourselves. So Paris, would you like to go first?
Yes, hi. So I'm Paris Ortiz-Wines, and I am the global organizer of Stand Up for Nuclear, which is a global initiative that basically is we advocate for the protection and expansion of nuclear energy.
Fantastic. Thank you. And Taya?
Hi, I'm Thea Törmänen. I work as an international coordinator for We Planet, which is a global environmental movement, pro-science, pro-technology, pro-development. And we fight for science and we want to correct misinformation. And we also promote technologies that we believe that can shrink the human environmental footprint, and nuclear is one of them.
Fantastic. And thanks, finally, Heather.
Hi, my name's Heather Hoff. I'm co-founder of a nonprofit organization called Mothers for Nuclear. which Kristen Zaitz and I started specifically to talk differently about nuclear, to help reach mothers and women and people who might be skeptical.
And if you don't recognize her, the moderator for this discussion is Barony Worthington, who you might recognize from some of the older thorium videos. She was involved in talking about nuclear energy to the UK Parliament way back in, the 2015-2017 era of the thorium advocacy community.
Wonderful. So my first question is, obviously nuclear has been around for a long time. And why do you think right now we need to be engaging in a conversation with the public specifically? Heather, if you want to start.
Yeah, like I mentioned, Mothers for Nuclear, we created it specifically to talk to mothers and women and people who typically haven't heard a good message about nuclear energy. They don't have the hope that it took me a long time to learn about how nuclear energy works, and I have a job at a power plant. It took me about 6 years of asking questions to realize how amazing nuclear is and that it does have a really low environmental footprint, and I want to share that with other people.
Brilliant. And maybe Taya, you can hook to us, why does nuclear have such a low environmental footprint? What are the benefits of this power?
Well, the main reason is that uranium is just so energy dense that you need very little of it to produce an immense amount of energy. So that means less mining because you need so very little of it. And the power plants, they don't take a lot of space either, because they can just, for example, I visited the Olkiluoto island in Finland last October, and it has 3 power plants, and you can walk through the area in 15 minutes or so, and it produces like 30% of Finland's electricity. It's just on that one single island, so that really demonstrates how small the environmental footprint is.
That's amazing. And Paris, you've been involved in a campaign to save California's last active nuclear power station, which I know Heather is very involved in. Tell us why that needed public support.
Yeah, so in California, we claim to be a climate leader. We claim that we put up all these solar panels, we're going to go in wind, and we are leading the world in what the transition should look like. And unfortunately, we still get a lot of our our electricity from natural gas, 50%. And nobody knew about our power plant. And I didn't even know that I had one in my backyard until like 6 years ago, and how sad and how unfortunate. So it's just not on the radar. And I don't know if it's nuclear is going to be super sexy and people will be like out in the streets, all of us be like, we need it. But I think we need people to be like, oh, I hear nuclear and it's good. Oh, I know about Diablo Canyon and I like politicians that support it. And so for us, Diablo Canyon was on the chopping block, 15% of our zero carbon electricity. My friend Heather works there, and she's the one that operates and used to operate and writes the procedures for. So we needed public support, because what an climate injustice would it be if nobody stood up for our single largest source of clean electricity?
And so thanks to your work, combined with Heather and others, Heather, do you want to tell us, what happened? How did the grassroots movement make a difference?
Oh yeah, that's a big thing. And I think part of what happened with Diablo Canyon was people realizing just the reality of the situation. Like Paris said, 50% of our electricity comes from natural gas. We import 30% of our electricity. And with the idea of shutting down Diablo Canyon coming up, it was supposed to happen this year, people started realizing like that's not the right way to go. We could even face blackouts. So we don't have enough energy, period, without even talking about whether it's clean or not. And we should be so focused on replacing fossil fuels first and preserving existing clean energy resources, of which Diablo Canyon is a huge one.
And so what was specifically done by the grassroots movement? Like, what did that bring in terms of the politics? Like, people were outside the plant, were they? Or how did it manifest?
A little bit, yeah. We hold rallies and we do a lot of outreach to our government officials, and we basically show people that it's okay to support nuclear. If a mom supports nuclear, then why wouldn't I? And I think people haven't seen that kind of support for nuclear in the past, and so by putting that out on social media and by having stickers on our phones and our cars, people see that and they're like, what, Mothers for Nuclear? Is that a thing? And they're just kind of shocked by it, and they notice it and they're like, oh, maybe I should rethink, my previous assumptions.
Brilliant.
This was really special for me as well. Getting involved with the Save Diablo Canyon groups on direct message groups like which one was it? It wasn't Signal. It was WhatsApp. So yeah, there are some WhatsApp groups that organize nuclear activism, and the Diablo Canyon folks have a wonderful community, and we even have like a policy discussion group that branched off of that. So really special stuff.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And Taya, you've kind of taken this concept and also had similar wins, right? But in the European context. Do you want to tell us, like, We Planet's kind of how you've changed politics?
Yeah, so in Finland, I mean, the support for nuclear has been pretty high in general, but there was a big drop after Fukushima happened. And then our organization started in 2015, and IPCC reports started coming out saying, like, we're really in trouble. So we took this message to not only the usual nuclear supporters, but we wanted to convince the left and the Greens and the whole environmental movement in Finland, and we succeeded in this. I'm a biologist myself, so I think, like Heather said, it's important to hear this message from others than male engineers. It's important to hear it from mothers, from biologists saying why we need nuclear, and we want to repeat this success that we've done in Finland in all the other countries in the world. So still in Europe, the main environmental NGOs are campaigning against nuclear. They just sued the EU Commission for including nuclear into taxonomy of sustainable investments. And We Planet is involved in this court case we got in, and we're defending the Commission, saying that it's based on science. Nuclear is sustainable. And so we're there to, fight for nuclear.
That's another amazing example of government engagement, and so this is like We Planet doing amazing work here, staying on top of these interfering lawsuits that traditional environmental NGOs do to attack nuclear, to attack clean energy. They're an environmental NGO, and they are fighting for climate change. What is going on? So yes, be involved in an NGO like We Planet or Generation Atomic. Gets in touch with your government representatives and files amicus briefs, like friend of the court briefs, when traditional environmentalists try to sabotage our climate progress.
Excellent. And so thinking to the future then, so this is a relatively new movement. It's chalked up some great successes. What's exciting you, Paris, about kind of in the future? Like, is this what gets you up in the morning at the moment?
Well, I was just talking about it. For me, because I'm from an environmental background, I was a bit devastated about the climate crisis, and I was like, what can I do to really help? And nuclear came upon my horizons, and now having a solution where I can be like, if I extend this nuclear plant by a couple years, many of my emissions would have been already covered, right? Like, it's just that energy dense, it's that impactful. And so what really excites me is, like, I've known Heather for a couple years, as well as Taya, and our movement is small. And there is, we have organizations everywhere, but our allies are still doing volunteering their time. But what's really exciting is that we are able to seize on the opportunity where, like, nuclear is back in the conversation now. We're going to do a demo next week in front of the IAEA summit. And we didn't think there's going to be anti-nuclears there, but they're going to be there, and they're going to face us, and they're going to see that there's pro-nuclear support. And that's just, it's a small thing. However, we weren't even relevant to them years ago.
Yeah.
So now that they're coming out, it's like, you're a little scared now, because people are realizing, actually, the conversation cannot be had without nuclear. It's been the unsung hero.
Yeah.
It's been doing the energy transition.
Yeah.
And so I think we're seeing that shift. And because we've been consistent, and we are small, but we're going to continue to grow.
Awesome. Heather, same question to you. What's on your horizon? What's exciting?
I was thinking of so many things as Paris was talking there, and I am excited and also concerned that we are shifting the public perception of nuclear energy. We've had huge successes. What comes next? We have to deliver on our promise to build more nuclear, to scale it up. And I work in the industry, so I see a lot of communication struggles still within our industry, and I'm really excited to support women more in the nuclear industry and to see more of us in there and see more of us talking about it, and also, having and enjoying amazing careers as a result.
Brilliant, fantastic. And Taya, what's exciting you at the moment?
It's very exciting how the public opinion has shifted, not only in Finland but in Europe. Like for example, in Sweden and the Netherlands, countries are doing complete turnarounds, and like Paris said, it makes the anti-side very worried, and that's a good sign because they see that we're winning.
Yeah.
So I'm very much looking forward to this progress and continuing to turn other countries. And like Heather, I'm a little bit worried about like when we have this momentum, that what if the nuclear industry is not able to deliver? So I'm really encouraging them and pressuring them to that this is the time is now and you have to deliver. Otherwise, all our efforts have been in vain.
Yeah.
So
Women will save the world.
yes.
Right, listen, I've got one quick 5 rounds. I want you to tell me your most annoying thing you hear that's negative about nuclear and what the answer is, right? Because we all get it all the time, right? So maybe starting with you, Paris, what's the thing that people say to you that you think, oh man, why are we still discussing this?
So there's like usually 3, right? But my one that I really was my issue was, what about the waste?
Oh yeah.
Right? And I'm like, let's talk about it. Let's get into it. And I think a very smart way that I've been able to ask is like, can you draw it for me? Do you know what it looks like? And many people just don't. So sometimes it's just exhausting. I don't want to talk about it. So now that's why I took that beautiful photo of just like hugging the waist, and I have multiple and I just show that. But yeah, sometimes I'm like, all right, guys.
Great.
I'm a little tired.
Taya, what about you?
Mine is when they say it's too slow and expensive, and they use that as an excuse to shut down existing nuclear plants. Like nothing is faster than plants that are already there. You can't, so that makes me super angry. Like, why this is not an argument for shutting down plants that are already there. They're already producing clean energy, and there's still many countries who are planning. I'm going to Barcelona next week to demonstrate against the closures of the Spanish nuclear plants.
Yeah.
They're planning to do. So this insanity still goes on, and we need to fight it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. This is a particularly European problem, right? We saw Germany and Belgium shut down 15 terawatt-hours worth of clean power early for no real reason. I mean, politics. Anyway, sorry, Heather, what's your one that gets you?
I don't know if I have an annoying one so much as I like to try and see what question do I still have. And someone mentioned it today at our beautiful nuclear exhibit. Like, if we keep giving energy to people, then we're going to keep using more and more of it. And so I guess that idea is kind of annoying to me because I'm like, we want people to have more energy, but also how do we balance all this technology and AI and data that we're going to try and manage that is going to use a whole lot more energy? And it's just such an interesting question to me. So I hope, lots of people are thinking about it and we get some really great solutions like nuclear.
Awesome. Yeah, I guess the flip side of that is we do need abundant clean energy for those people who don't have the lifestyles of people in the West or certainly in North America where there's a very energy intensive.
How do we get up to a basic
standard
standard of living that everyone can enjoy?
Yeah.
And so nuclear is hugely important for that, and data we'll see more than that.
Yeah, and the one that gets me most is that, it's too expensive. I'm like, you kind of get what you pay for. Like, you're buying infrastructure that's going to last maybe up to 100 years, which is super resilient and is going to be like operating whatever the weather. And let's face it, we're into a totally changed climate where we need resilience. So it's a bargain in my view. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me here at the beautiful nuclear event. Fabulous to hear what you're doing. And if anyone is watching this and thinking, how can we help? We're going to put up a slide saying, get involved, donate, make sure this grassroots movement has the power to change things going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so that'll be it for our program. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. We got a little bit of bonus content there at the end. Oh no. And I need to mute my browser
So we've got
source. There we go. You don't need my YouTube recommendations. If you know, you know. All sorts of stuff happening on the internet today. Thank you again for hanging out with me, catching up with Eric Meyer, and the content there at the very end was from We Planet, and so I'll put that in our link number 6 or 7 now. Got a lot of stuff for you there. And now I'm going to go to our media playlist again, and I'm going to raid out my my Twitch audience to a friendly channel. So thank you so much for coming on today. Emissions first, peace and justice will follow.